Alright, next machine on the chopping block right here. The only thing I know about this is the guy told me it was a 2008 Kawasaki Bruteforce 750. It's got a small oil leak and it needs some clutch work. Now when they dropped this off, the owner actually didn't drop this off. He had some of his co-workers drop this off. We figured out it wouldn't start. Battery's dead on it, so I don't know. I can definitely tell she's had some oil leaks. You can see it's pretty covered in there. I mean, it's mud, but it's also oil and mud mixed. And then, I don't know, it looks a little wet around this cover. First thing we want to do, I'll put a battery pack on this to fire it up, or to try to fire it up. First thing you should always do when you're looking at somebody else's machine that you don't know anything about, or you purchase something that you don't know anything about, check the oil, because you start this thing up, if that thing's bone dry, there you go. There's a whole new motor you need. We'll go ahead and open that up. See how it looks. Looks pretty spent, but pretty black, but it does look full. Alright. Yeah, looks good enough. Bet it smells like gas. Actually, it doesn't smell like gas at all. It just smells like oil. It's definitely a good way to see how it's been running. If it's been running too rich, it'll definitely get down in there and you'll smell some fuel. But yeah, so a little leak over there. Now I don't know, they said it was running, it wasn't going very fast or something. I don't know. We'll find out when we fire it up and see how she acts. It looks like the front diff. I wonder if he's talking about the engine or if the front diff is, that looks a little wet there around that seal. So that probably needs to be repaired. Who might need a new bearing in there. First thing we got to do is get this thing fired up though. Let's go grab a battery pack. There we go. Go ahead and get that seat out of there. Battery. Terminal's a little loose. Yeah, both of them. Well, first is that our problem? Nah, I don't think so. I'm going to tighten them up before I jump it though. Now the first thing that comes to my mind, I don't want to jinx myself or the customer, but the first thing that comes to my mind when they say the Bruteforce is running a little rough and doesn't have no speed is a bad crank. I got 3 of these things sitting out back with blown cranks. They're all mine. I need to repair them at some point, but let's hope it's not that. Now a good sign is that oil does look kind of old and it's full, so I take it it's not leaking a whole bunch. Now all mine that I bought them all blown up, but they were all ran out of oil. That's what happened. These Brutes seem to develop oil leaks pretty easily, and then you're gonna have problems if you don't keep up with the oil, fix the leaks, or keep up with the oil level in here. So we're about to find out. Alright. Fuel injected. Fired right up. Engine sounds good, that's a good sign. All mine are clank, 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 clank. They don't sound like that. That thing's nice and quiet. This thing sounds good. You know what I'm seeing though? That belt light's flashing. Maybe that's what's going on with the clutching. Because these things do limit your speed and limit your power when that belt light's on. Let's try her out. So, just gonna leave that connected for now until we get a good battery, or see if his takes a charge. Throw her in high. Power is definitely limited. Let's see, stop it. Seems like it's grabbing good. 10 miles an hour is max you'll want to go. Okay, that's a good sign. Hopefully it's just that belt light. And so what happens is you got a switch in here that'll trip when the belt gets loose, and it'll throw this thing in limp mode. And that's what it's doing right now. Let's go ahead, get it in the garage, pull this clutch cover off, and see what's going on. Oh yeah, this is not comfortable. No seat is not comfortable on this. We'll just idle her on in there. All right, got her in here. I gotta tell you, I'm very glad, very happy with the way that engine sounds. Sounds great, other than being in limp mode here. So I'm gonna pull that battery off. And we'll try to see if she'll take a charge. Pull her on out of there. 21, so she's a few years old. First thing I'll do, go ahead and unplug this actuator. This is for your engine braking, and then this right here is for that belt light dummy sensor that throws it into limp mode. Alright, now we can unbolt this thing. Looks like somebody had been in there. This air duct for the CVT clutch cover is disconnected, so hopefully they haven't been running it through too much mud like that. This machine has definitely seen some mud up here, I can see, so we'll find out when we get in there. Looks like we were missing a bolt in here that was not in there. Hopefully it's not broke. And there's the last one right there. Alright, let's check the condition. At least there ain't a pile of mud in there. That's kind of what I was expecting. This switch, I'm guessing it is off, which, yeah, so that's tripped. Should be on if everything's in working order. We'll go ahead and check the belt. Definitely loose. That's probably why it tripped. As you can see, it's riding under in there. So yeah, that's the problem. Definitely seen better days. Now you can shim these in the secondary. You can take some shims out of there and that'll ride up further. We'll go ahead and pull everything and see what's going on. Good thing is that does not look like there's a bolt broke in it, so it looks like somebody just forgot to install that bolt. That'll save quite a bit of time just adding a new bolt. I should have something kicking around here versus drilling and trying to get out a broken bolt. Go ahead and pull this primary. Secondary. Go ahead and get our clutch puller in there. Thread it in by hand all the way. And there she comes. Pull that drive belt off. And then the secondary, you should be able to just pull off here. Yeah. Just like that. A little dusty, a little dirty in there. I'll go ahead and blow everything out. So we get the primary, secondary. I'll go ahead and tear this apart and pull some shims. Get the belt ride height proper. Reason I took the primary off is I want to blow everything out real good and just check it out. And I was just compressing this and checking the rollers, everything. They roll nice and free. The ramps look pretty good in there. I'll just give it a good thorough inspection. Go ahead and remove that clip. Flip that around. Now I go ahead and release this clutch spring. Just like that. Right. Washer. Now in here we're going to remove those pins. There you can see I got that one halfway sticking out. There's 4 of them. 1. Right, once you remove all 4 of those pins, then this will just slide up out of there. There's the pins. Clean those up and re-grease them after. Now these right here are the shims I was talking about. These are your belt deflection shims basically. So we got 2. We looked like we're a long ways away, so we're probably going to try to go no shims, see how we are. You can run, I've seen guys run with no washers. It does put extra stress on these 2 clutch sheaves here on the outside because it doesn't have, you know, that flexibility of this washer spinning. So you can see the washers get eaten up a little bit from all the opening and closing of the sheaves. So instead of, you know, eating up your washers, you're going to eat up your ends of your clutches. While we're at it, I mean, these pins, can you see those flat spots right there? They're getting worn out. There. So they're not going to roll as smooth on the surface right here. So we really should replace these little 4 pins here. I also want to get a hold of the owner and see if that oil leak he was talking about was the front diff, because all I got was a text from him saying exactly what I told you guys, that it needed some clutch work and an oil leak. So I don't know where that oil leak was. I'm thinking that front diff. We'll see what he was talking about. I'll show him. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and throw it together with no spacers because I don't believe that this one right here is actually the thinnest. So from Kawasaki, the thinnest spacer you can get is 0.03, and this one is 0.03. There's a little ridge there, so it's not quite reading right. There we go. So yeah, 0.03 inch thickness. I don't know. We're gonna try it and then we'll test it. It's very quick to change this out. You don't have to remove any plastics. You can just pull the secondary very easily. So you know, especially after you've done them a few times. But we'll see how that goes. Put this back together to see where it was running, and that way I can give this, you know, once I get it back together, I can fire it up and we can go test it out and make sure nothing else is having issues. Right, get that back in there. It's not looking super good for that battery. I've been charging it and it's still pretty low, but we'll keep trying. I do have a new one I can throw in for now. I don't know if the owner wants it or not, but it's good for me for testing. Okay, so right now, if I was to just turn this key on, even though that's reset, we're still going to get a belt flashing light. We actually need to reset the system. Now, right here, we're going to go ahead, unplug this right here. Now, these machines should have a plug-in to reset that. It's a little gray plug that's usually hanging around. This one doesn't have them. A lot of the older machines, they get lost, get taken out, whatever, for whatever reason. If it doesn't, you can just take a jumper, go right here into your female plug, the top 2. We'll go ahead, jump those. Now what we need to do is unplug this one, just like that. Now we turn that key switch on, and you're going to wait 10 seconds. Now we can shut our key switch off, pull our plug. Go ahead and plug this back in. And we can go ahead and fire that. Now we take this thing out of here and try her out. All right, this should be a different story now. There we go. There we go. That's the Kawasaki 750 V-twin power. Definitely just the belt light. That's all set now. I'm gonna test her out a little bit more, see if I find any other issues. Took it for a little ride. Obviously our hot light's on. Now the radiator is pretty plugged up, I see, but that fan is not kicking on, so that's not a good sign. Certainly gotta see what's up with that fan. All right, now let me show you a different scenario. You know how the belt was too loose to begin with. Well, now if we start this thing up, fire it up. Sounds pretty good, right? Everything's normal. We'll go ahead and throw it in gear. Hear that squeal? And the machine wants to roll backwards. Same thing going forward. It wants to go forward. Now the belt is too tight. So go ahead and shut that off. So now the belt's too tight, which means that secondary clutch sheave is too close together. So we have to install a shim to spread it out just enough where it won't do that. All right, on the thin washer goes. And we'll go ahead and try it again. Honestly, one of the longest things that you're going to experience on doing these secondaries is putting those little pins in. Sometimes they can be a struggle, but got them in, ready to install everything else. Washer goes first, then our spring cup and our spring. There. Make sure our clip is in there. Get that clip in there. Now we can remove our spring compressor, and we'll come on over and get her back on the machine. Get that primary on there, secondary. There we go. All right, once we get those all tightened down, we can go ahead and grab our case, and we want to make sure that's still not tripped, so off. I have seen these marked wrong where it says on over here, but so you basically want this, if you think when this is on, the CVT is going this way, so the belt is going around this way, and when it gets too loose, what it's going to do is that it's going to come up here and trip this towards this little cage here. So that'll throw it in limp mode. So what you want to do is reset it towards the back. So this CVT covers like this. You want the switch in the back. Not like that, like that. So we'll go ahead and throw this on. All right, now that we got everything back installed, we got the rubber boot on. That was a little kind of a pain because it was tucked in back there. Got all the bolts, went and grabbed out of my stash. So we'll give her a whirl now. And because we weren't in limp mode before we took that apart, it's gonna be, we don't have to do a belt reset. Now if we would have turned the key on while that was unplugged, it would have threw it in limp mode and we would have had to redo that procedure. But because we didn't, it shouldn't have to be. Fire it up. Sounds good. No squealing out of the clutch area. Beautiful. Gauge is nice. Think we got her that time. Sometimes it's trial and error, getting the right belt deflection, before, when you take out spacers, add spacers in. I got different sizes too, but point .03 is the thinnest I got. So we couldn't go anything thinner than that. So that's where that belt life's gonna stay for now. As it stretches, you could take it out. I would recommend replacing it though and doing those rollers at the same time. Before we take this for a ride, we're gonna fix that cooling issue because the fan wasn't kicking on and it got a little hot there when we tried her out the first time. And what I see was going on, I went in here, I was making sure it was plugged in, followed the wires back, and they actually have it wired to a toggle switch right here. So I went and turned the key on. Fan does not come on. And I see there was one wire missing off that toggle switch. So this is one. Here's the other one. So we're going to have to reconnect that. We'll go ahead and remove this cover. Looks like there's only one bolt holding it anyways. This one's already out of there. Alright, get that loosened up. This can come ahead. That is missing a wire. And, oh, that one fell right out as well. So we'll fix them both. So we'll fix that. I'll check the voltage too. Now this battery has been, I took it off the big charger because we got some voltage to it. Now this thing has been on the trickle charger all night and it's still charging. So I'm going to say that battery's not going to make it. It's not going to happen. So yeah, it's probably got a dead cell in it. This thing is scalding hot. Actually, you can see the battery acid starting to seep out of it. So we're going to call that a dud. And I'll see if the owner wants to buy that new one from me. If not, well, he can buy one on his own. That'll be fine. But let's go ahead and check for power here. Alright, so we'll go ahead and check this. I got the negative grounded out there. Check one side, nothing. Check this side. 12 volts. And the key switch is off, so they just get it wired, hardwired. So if I put these together, the fan should kick on. It's not. So I'm gonna say the fan is probably blown because they have this hooked straight. I'll check those connections, but this is the ground wire. They have this running directly to the battery, so it's obviously getting a good ground. Now if I hit this, this is giving it 12 volts straight to that motor, and it's not kicking on. Let's see, can I spin it? Okay, spins freely. Just thinking the motor is gone. Like I said, I'll pull these apart and then hook it straight, but I think he's gonna need a new fan motor. Alright, so I get the connections apart and I'm gonna hook this straight now. Now there we go. Good. Okay. So I'm thinking this wire was probably bad on that connection. When I did pull it apart, you can see the wires kind of burnt up, corroded. So that's good. We don't have to replace the fan motor. We'll just get a new connection in there. This wire they had on here for the positive going to the battery, it just feels so flimsy, and I'm not a fan of it. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this, run a new wire up. Go ahead and put the fuse link in. So before we go ahead and put this together, we can make sure our switch is working here. Make sure the switch works here. Yep, beautiful. That's what we wanted to see. Hook those wires up and the fan should work again. All right, beautiful. Now this fan, this radiator is packed pretty tight with mud. I don't know if you can see that or not. So I'm gonna be sure to pressure wash that out real good, because that fan, it will cool it down. However, that's gonna heat up quick. And it did heat up quick on me. I didn't even drive this thing for like 5 minutes and it started getting hot already. So we're gonna get that tackled. All right, so we're getting there, but we do still have that oil leak to discover. And I talked to the owner. He said it was not the front diff he was looking at. It was an engine oil leak that was on the left-hand side. He said the driver's side, but I assume the left-hand side here, and I think I might see it. He said it's the pipe that's coming down. Now, he said it wasn't a huge leak, but it was enough to where he had to add oil every now and then, every couple rides. And I do see a leak right there on this oil pipe here. So we're gonna look into that, see if it's just an O-ring or what. But I'm gonna take this out for now, and I want to clean this all off because there's a lot of dirt and stuff. So I'll pressure wash the front radiator, and we'll get this cleaned off as well, and then we'll work on that oil leak. Alrighty. Feels good, sounds good. Go ahead and clean that out there. Alright, so I got it cleaned off pretty good, and I started it up just for a second. Well, probably a minute or so. And it's definitely a pretty good leak because you can see it right up in there. You can see it dripping down. So I gotta pull that whole oil line off and see what's going on. Alright, so here's that oil line. It goes under the engine just like that, obviously on the inside. Now this is the one that was leaking right here. So we'll go ahead and get some new O-rings, 3 brand new O-rings for that. Give this pipe a good cleaning. I don't see any damage to the pipe itself. I'm pretty sure it's just those O-rings, but I'll find out when I get them off. All cleaned up, got the little O-rings off. They're not in the best of shape, and they're pretty hard and brittle. So definitely going to put all 3 brand new ones on there. Get the new O-rings on with a little fresh grease. I'm going to go pop this on the machine and check for leaks. Before we go ahead and check that pipe to make sure she's not leaking, I'm going to check this front diff because remember I said it was leaking up here. It's not super loose, but I don't know. Either way, to do the seal properly, the diff should come out. I'll see what the owner wants to do. But in the meantime, I want to pull this front diff plug and check the level. See if it's really low or just leaking a little bit or whatnot. Yeah, it's right up to the top, so it can't be leaking too much. Unless he just filled it. That tightened back down. I'll let the owner know about that. See what he wants to do. I pressure washed the outside of this case to see if I could see it leaking or whatnot. So we'll find out there. But what we really want to know is if this pipe is going to leak. So let's go ahead and take her for a test drive. Let's try her out. Make sure she's not leaking. Just looked at it. It looks good. I've had it idling for a couple minutes here. Throw her in high. I'm going to turn that fan on. Oh, I love how snappy these Brutes are, especially the fuel injected ones. I keep saying it when I fix one of these Kawasaki's, but man, it makes me want to fix one of mine. There's one right there. That one's all torn apart. Got the engine apart. Crank problems. Yeah, no, this thing sounds good. This thing is a little noisy back here, so if you hear some clunking, that's what it is. But yeah, we'll get right on to it. Make sure she's good to go. Oh, very clanky. Oh boy, I'd be mounting that thing a little better. Oh, I love these Brutes. They're just so playful. The only problem is the one downfall I don't like about them. Well, there's a couple things actually. Nothing, not a serious problem, but I don't like how the handlebars are so narrow. They're very narrow on these things compared to anything else I'm used to. Now,
The one downfall about this thing is it rides kind of rough. I don't know, maybe the new Brutes are a little better. Any of the older Brutes I've rode, they're definitely quite rough compared to the bigger machines like Polaris or Can-Am. But they're lightweight, so it is what it is. But I'm telling you, I think we're gonna be good here. Yeah, you can see this is the bridge. If you guys watched my other video, that water was way back there. It was so high. You can see it just kind of moved everything over, knocked some trees down. I don't know if you'll be able to see with this camera, but I can see with my eyes, and I don't see anything leaking yet. Pretty dry there, so that's a good sign. I do want to check the four-wheel drive in this, make sure the four-wheel drive is working, just because I saw that leak. But it's plenty full in there, so I like that. Let's see, four-wheel drive switches right off the bat. That's good. Some of these Brutes, a lot of these Brutes have servo issues with the servo motor. Definitely kicking in, definitely. The diff lock on these are pretty cool. You can choose how sensitive or how aggressive you want that diff lock by pulling this lever in. So all the way out, that's an open diff or a limited slip. When you pull this, what it does is it locks that front end. So that is full four-wheel lock right there. It's very hard to turn, especially with these older ones that do not have the power steering. But that's all I wanted to see. We'll get back on it. Kicks right in and out of full drive. That's a good sign. Now, if you guys have Brutes that have your two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, it's kind of sluggish kicking in. A lot of times you'll have to hit the switch and it doesn't change until you kind of give it a little gas, start moving a little bit. Most of the time it's going to be that servo. Sometimes you can take it off and the old grease on the gears are dried up. That could be your issue. Might not be. It might be the motor's getting weak, but I have seen some dried up grease on those. So it's a good thing to check. It's cheap. But yeah, no. I think we're good to go. This thing is grabbing great. The clutch running how she should. Man, I just love especially the fuel injected ones. The older carbureted ones don't seem like they get that much throttle response. Oh, that thing is so annoying. I'm probably annoying saying how much that's annoying, but I'm telling you, it is. Let's get this back home. Hammer on her a little bit more, get that oil pressure up as much as we can, and see if we spring any leaks. I think we're good with the new O-rings. Oh, great engine braking with these Brutes as well. They do have the electronic engine braking that can be a headache, but when they work well, they work well. And you don't have to worry about a one-way bearing going out on you like a Polaris or a Can-Am. It's the low-end grunt of these things, I'm telling you. You want to do a wheelie, these things are the machines do it. I mean, they will do it. You just almost come to a stop and then just front wheels are off the ground. All right, one more last hurrah here. Beautiful. Rear brakes seem a little weak on this one, but that's not why it's here. I know the guy that owns this does a lot of his own work, so I think he's just busy right now. Aren't we all? But yeah, let's check her out. Dry as a bone. That's what we wanted. Fans running. Of course, I have the switch on. It's on a switch. Check that front diff. You know, I don't. It's not leaking heavy. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. It's definitely not leaking heavy. So I'm gonna say that this machine is probably ready to go back to its home.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you on the next one.